Welcome, guys, to today's episode. This is Melody FS Academy, and if this is your first time of coming across this channel, please do well to subscribe, turn on the notification bell to get notified when we upload our weekly content. Okay, so in today's episode, we're going to be looking at the index futures market review. Okay, so I'm going to be doing a review of what I did today. Okay, otherwise known as the live trade experience series. Okay, so I'm going to be walking us through what I how my day went with trading. Okay, so I'm going to do a review on index futures market. Okay, so let's get down to it. Now this is the Nasdaq. Okay, so we'll talk about this market, this particular asset class, in our previous video. Okay, so we made reference to sell side liquidity being pushed, buy side liquidity being pushed, sell side liquidity being pushed. Currently we are seeing a push on buy side liquidity, right? So we are expecting a continuation to the downside. We are expecting the market to reach for the sell side liquidity resting below this old low, right? And at the same time, I talked about this breaker block, right? We talk about this breaker block, the mean threshold. We saw a immediate feedback, a move away from the mean threshold of this breaker block. Okay, so we're going to be looking at today's price action, which is quite unexpected. It didn't pan out as we thought it would. Okay, so but still we were able to squeeze out a little of some pips or ticks rather from the price from today's market. Okay, so I'm going to walk us through how I did it. Okay, so now let's get down to today's business. Now when I pull up my chart today on this particular asset class, okay, I was like looking at this overrun range, right? We had an overrun range right here. Okay, so I was expecting the market to kind of make a deep, maybe a deep retracement into this fair value gap, probably up into this breaker block. Okay, so that was the idea. Okay, that was what I had in mind. Okay, so because we are deep in this count, okay, then I thought about the dealing range. Okay, so we had a short-term dealing range right here. Okay, so we have, as you can see, we had this short-term low. Okay, price trades below it, and although today's price action was kind of sloppy. Okay, this is the one at our time frame. Okay, I didn't expect it to be this sloppy. Okay, so and we were expecting on the economic calendar today, we are expecting a high impact news. Okay, around 8:30, 9:30, 10 o'clock, if I'm not mistaken. Okay, so we had a an high impact news that was released today. Okay, so that was what I've been preparing for since. Okay, so I was watching the market, waiting the time for the the news to be released. Okay, because definitely I knew the news was going to be was going to drive liquidity in the marketplace, so I was hoping to get in sync with the uh liquidity that's going to be provided by the news release. Okay, so now the time of the news was released was around 8:30 or 10 o'clock, between 8:30 to 10 o'clock, if I'm not mistaken. Okay, I've forgotten the exact time, but I'm sure it was around that time window. Okay, so we had three important news that was released today. Okay, in red. Okay, if you are using the factory forestfactory.com, you understand what I mean by the one in red. Okay, the one that has a red folder, which is the ones that are high impact news. Okay, so I was analyzing. I made my analysis awaiting the news. Okay, so this is today's price action. Okay, so as you can see, the market was really sloppy and there was not much to trade on it. Okay, but uh I got some movement. I caught some move out of it. Okay, so which is I'm going to walk us through how I did it. Okay, so of course this is the midnight opening, New York midnight price. Okay, so the news was supposed to come in around 8:30 to 9 o'clock. Okay, between 8:30 to 9 o'clock thereabout. Okay, so we had this midnight opening price, right? So now notice how we had a push on sell side liquidity, then the market rallied up. Okay, rallied up. I had prior to 8:30, which is when the news was released. Okay, prior to 8:30, the market rallied upwards and created uh equal highs. Okay, so when this happened, this was what got my attention. Okay, prior to 8:30, because this the New York Q zone for the futures market starts at 8:30, right? So the market rallied up 8:30 and fit to go above these equal highs. Okay, so we already pushed liquidity, buy side liquidity from this short-term low, and we had this short-term low right here that has not been pushed yet. Okay, so I will show us that on the next slide. Okay, so this had not been taken out by the time uh, when we had this move. Okay, so this was where I actually got my entry. Okay, so I was able to cash this move. Okay, so I was able to get in on this move. So I'm going to show us how I did it. Okay, so now lucky enough, I saved today's screenshot. Okay, I saved the before and after analysis image, so I decided to just use it for the presentation. Okay, so we had my this is my midnight opening, as you can see. Okay, we had the New York midnight opening, and most of the time I don't remember to take pictures or screen captures the chart, because like I say, I'm bad at multitasking. In other words, I'm not good at doing many things at the same time. Okay, so when I'm trading, I'm mostly focused on the chart, and I forget to do a lot of things like keep before and after analysis, screen captures, and the rest. Okay, so I forgot, most of the times I forgot to save the chart, but today I remembered and I saved the chart. So what got my interest? Well, how did I get in on this market? Okay, so now prior to the New York Q zone, which is around 8:30, so this move happened prior to 8:30. So now our bias is bearish as we know it. Okay, so what is the first swing high prior to the 8:30? Okay, we had this old high right here. Okay, so now, and this old high had already seen some purge, some run on sell side liquidity. Okay, so this is a run on buy side on buy side liquidity. Okay, so sell side liquidity had already been pushed down here. Okay, so the market reached for buy side liquidity but failed to move above this previous high. Okay, so this previous high, the market failed to move above this previous high. So when this occurred, when this happened, I put up a chart that has the same price movement for it as this. Okay, in other words, I put up a chart that have the same that moves in tandem with the Nasdaq futures market. So that would be the US 500. Okay, so other than the DSY, the other you can also make use of correlated pairs for your SMT divergence. Okay, so what actually got my interest on this market, how I got my entry, was because there was an SMT divergence. Okay, so now do you notice during this time window we had this high, right, which is this high, then the market made a low, right, which is this low. So it made this low, which is this low, and it made a lower low, which is this low. Okay, so this low, you can see, is lower than this one. Okay, then it made a higher low, right, which is this low. Then they were both moving in tandem, they were both moving in same direction. Okay, then until the New York Q zone, which is the 8:30, when the first news was released. Okay, so the first news was released 8:30, right? So now the market failed to make a higher high, but this particular market, which is the US 500, created a higher high. As you can see, it made a high higher than this previous low, this previous high. So it made a higher high, but Nasdaq failed to make a higher high. Okay, so instead it made a lower high. Okay, so that right there is was an SMT divergence. Okay, so that right there was an SMT divergence. So this is the Nasdaq being heavily distributed. Okay, so I saw that the Nasdaq was heavily distributed and sold off on weakness, and the what's it called, the US 500 was going above an old short-term high to grab in liquidity. Okay, so this market was heavily distributed, right, but this was accumulating. Okay, so it was accumulating buy stops that were resting above this old short-term high. Okay, inducing in the buy stops and went the other direction. Okay, so when I saw this, and this is obviously the 5-minute chart, right, so I was watching it from the 5-minute chart, and we had this displacement. Okay, so we had this displacement and a failure swing. Okay, so this is a failure swing, a market that failed to rally above a previous old high, and at the same time we had a market that was supposed to be in tandem, that was supposed to be correlated with each other. We had one make a higher high, and we had the other make a fail to make that higher high. Okay, so this right here was Nasdaq being heavily distributed and US 500 being heavily accumulated. Okay, so this went above and under to grab liquidity, so I decided to sell this off on weakness. Okay, so when we had displacement, failure swing, okay, so heavily distributed, right? So and we had this displacement, then the market started to retrace, then we had this imbalance right here. Okay, so going down, so this was my point of interest. Okay, so you can see I got in right there. So I got in right there as the market reached into this fair value gap, and my stop loss was above this candles high. Okay, which is obviously you can see. Okay, so my target was this lows. Okay, since we are bearish, so I was expecting the market to really go lower. Okay, to expand really fast downwards. Okay, so I was expecting the market to decline further than this. Okay, so but this was my first target. Okay, to take off something from the market. Okay, so obviously you can see uh this is a 3 minute chart. Okay, this is a 3 minute chart. I actually got my entry on the 5 minute chart, but this is also the also the 3 minute chart. So I started monitoring it from the lower time frame. Okay, so you can see price made into that fair value gap, and this was my first target, right? This was my first TP. Okay, why did I aim for this TP? Okay, because we have price has already seen taking out the buy side liquidity resting above this old high, right? So we are going to be reaching for the sell side liquidity resting below this old low. Okay, so that was why I had this as my first target, and obviously you can see the market reached into that. Okay, that was a risk reward ratio of 3 to 1. Okay, so although I was targeting this old low somehow. Okay, I was hoping price was going to reach for that, but although it reached, it declined a little bit down, then it started before it started retracing. Okay, so I took some off here, took some off there. Okay, and as the market started retracing, it stopped me out. Okay, it stopped me out on the break even after taking most of my positions out of the market. Okay, so the takeaway of this is that there are going to be times the DSY, if you have, let's say you have a particular asset class that is paired against the DSY, you that is correlated to the DSY. You don't have to wait for you don't have to uh, use the DSY for your SMT to determine your SMT divergence. Okay, so your SMT divergence, you can use a pair that has the same movement, that has the same correlation, that has positive correlation with each other. Okay, in this case the US 100, which is Nasdaq, the US 500, the mini SRP, they tend to move in the same direction. Okay, so when this when price fade to go above this previous old high, okay, I became suspicious. Okay, so I was like, okay, there should be a crack in correlation. Okay, there should be a crack in correlation between this asset class. Okay, there should be a crack in correlation. There's something that's missing. Okay, so immediately when this happened, I knew that there was something that's missing from that I'm not really seeing. Okay, so I had to pull up some other charts. Okay, I had to pull up the other asset class that I know that are in positive correlation with this asset class that I'm looking at. Okay, so that was the US 500. So I did notice I didn't use the DSY. Okay, I didn't use the DSY for this SMT divergence. I had to make use of a pair that has a positive correlation as the Nasdaq. Okay, so now when this failed to move above this old high, but although it failed to move above this previous old high, but we had a run above this short-term high, right? And there are going to be those that are going to sell, on breakout traders are going to see this as a breakout to go long, right? So that is just that for this lesson. So I hope we have we have learned one or two things from today's episode. Please, if this is your first time of coming across this channel, please subscribe to this channel turn on the notification bell to get notified. And remember, we always have our Telegram group link attached to the comments to the description box. Okay, so you can join our Telegram community, and if you have any questions or any difficulties you need help assistance with, I'm always available in the Telegram group. Okay, so I will answer all your questions, and definitely we can work a way out together. Okay, so I'll see you guys tomorrow, and do have a great evening.